4, 3, 2, 1. You're now tuned into the 411 podcast and reading Between the Wines, powered by the Black Diamond Consultations Network. More than a podcast, this is a sanctuary for self-discovery, healing, and personal growth. Here, we explore what it means to live debt-free, not just financially, but spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Every episode is part of a journey across our weekly mentorship series: Spiritual Sundays, Mental Mondays, Transformational Tuesdays, Wind Down Wednesdays, Coaching Sessions Thursdays, and Financial Fridays. Each day holds space for wisdom, clarity, and real conversation. So grab your journal, pour your glass, and prepare to go beyond the surface. Because here, we don't just talk, we transform. And now, here's your guide through it all: entrepreneur, mentor, and founder of Black Diamond Consultations, Laren Gaines.
Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. What's going on, everybody? How are you doing out there tonight? I want to say welcome into Reading Between the Wines. We're here Wednesday, September 17th. Wow, we're almost halfway through this month already. Welcome on in. Episode 50. When love and loyalty don't pay the bills. We're going to pay some bills tonight. But before we do that, I want to give a very special thank you to my executive producer. I want to thank God for giving me another opportunity, giving me another chance to not only get right with myself, that's so important, but to be able to come out here and do what I love to do best, taking care of the Black Diamond community. I appreciate each and every one of y'all so much, and I love y'all so much, and thank you for all of the love and support in this journey. I feel like it's just getting started, and we have so much more to do. And I just want to say thank you. I want to give a very special thank you to Miss Leah Abraham. Thank you for reaching out to me today. Your words of encouragement were so awesome, and I definitely needed that today. So thank you as well. And let's get right on into this. When I tell you that this is going to be a good show tonight, it really is. I know I say that every night, but this is going to be an amazing show tonight. And of course, I have family to the show, author Birdman. Oh, excuse me. I stand corrected. Author / poet Birdman 313. Let's be clear here. I wasn't clear all of the other times when I introduced this fella here, but yes, author / poet Birdman 313 will be in the building tonight. I also want to let you know that I am sampling Dulce Vita tonight from Hopewell Valley Vineyards. I almost want to say Hopewell Valley Winery, but it is a winery, but their official name is Hopewell Valley Vineyards. And I'll share with you how my experience went at this winery this past weekend. And of course, I bought some wine to sample tonight here on this show. But before we do that, let's do a quick recap. So the last episode, we traveled all the way to Newark, New Jersey. Very familiar. Shout out to Newark. Shout out to anybody from New Jersey. This was a gentleman, Marcus, who felt a certain way about writing into a podcast. I guess he felt that he really didn't want to write into a podcast and, share his story, but he did. He felt a certain way. And what this was an example of someone who doesn't know who they are. And again, not here to throw shade, not here to call anybody out, because as you find out tonight, I said we're going to pay some bills. I'm going to release and let you know exactly most of this stuff that we speak about here tonight. I used to be that. So this is dedicated to the people who are in the struggle, just got out of the struggle, looking to get out of the struggle, trust and believe I understand and I know. Mr. Marcus was caught up in a relationship where he was paying the bills, the rent, utility, car insurance, everything, while she, on the other end, was just focusing on hair done, nails done, everything big. Really wasn't caring about focusing on the financial aspect and getting everything together. There was lack of communication, barely contributed to any household. And then whenever, and anybody out there, if you understand where I'm coming from, whenever the more responsible person decided to speak up and speak about it and have it say, hey, let's have a conversation because something's not right, then all of a sudden there's a conversation, there's an art which turns into an argument, and then somebody is accusing the other person of controlling the other person, not letting them live. And then that can, of course, mess with you on several different levels. The mental is the first that comes to mind. It could become physically, demanding on the body when you're constantly in so much stress from financial issues. You know full well that you shouldn't be in this type of relationship. So, of course, it's messing with you spiritually when you know better. You should be doing better. And then, of course, the obvious. That's why we're here, because of the financial aspect of it. If you'd like to find out exactly how and what our opinion was, again, we're not here to give any advice. You can go ahead and watch that replay. Check us out on YouTube at Laren Gaines. You may also listen to the replay, the audio version, where you listen to majority of your favorite podcasts. Just to name a few: iHeartRadio, Spotify, Deezer, Pocket Cast, Audacity, just to name a few. If you come across, because there's so many, trust and believe I have racked my brain trying to figure out to crack the code for all of the podcast platforms out there, and there's just so many to name, and they're probably building more as I'm speaking about this. If the 401 podcast Reading Between the Wines does not show up on your favorite podcast platform, please feel free to text me. You can DM me, or you can also email me, and we'll go ahead and get that in on your favorite podcast platform. Y'all ready? Because it's the time to get into the song of the day. And I must say that this is going to be a good one. Before I do that, I want to say thank you so much out there. Please do me a favor. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, tag a friend, text a friend, invite a friend in, because we're definitely getting ready to go in. Now, last week we spoke about this artist. I have no idea why we're speaking about her again, but she's back. Week 2. Miss Toni Braxton. The song of the day, Unbreak My Heart, released in 1996 off of the Secrets album. So I was in high school at this moment. I believe I was in 6th or 7th grade at this moment. And I absolutely lost my mind when Toni Braxton came out with the video, You're Making Me High. That was it. That's what made me run out and buy this album. That single there. And then, of course, Unbreak My Heart came out later, and everyone was so into that. I believe more than the lead single, You're Making Me High. But that beat, and for me to actually see Toni Braxton dancing, because this was like a complete turnaround from the first album. This one just had it had a little hump to it. So I was like, oh, Toni really doing it. And I love that video. I think we saw a new side of Toni Braxton, which you couldn't get from the first one because it was nothing but ballads off of the first album. So let's get into it. Toni sings the beautiful ballad of Unbreak My Heart. And she says, say you'll love me again. Undo this hurt you caused when you walked out the door and walked out of my life. Uncry these tears. Now, I have to say, I know you've cried so many nights, but I always submit back to the old African proverb: if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. And remember, 4-in-1 podcast, Reading Between the Wines, this is my ministry. And, of course, I heal and I grow with each and every one of you out there. So as I'm ministering to you, trust and believe that I am ministering to myself as well. So let me say that again. Toni Braxton says, I know that I've cried so many nights, unbreak my heart, but I got to take it back to the old African proverb. If there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. And I can end this podcast right here, right now. We can just go home after that. If there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. So this is a moment where we need to get our pens and paper. We talk about journaling. I know we sipping wine, we doing all of that stuff, but let's get the pen and pads together because this is one of those moments getting ready to go in. Because we always talk about, and again, I'm not just saying you, because when I say we in this thing together, we always talk about how people hurt us. But remember, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. And Toni goes on to say, don't leave me in this pain. And I have to ask why. Because you were in the pain to begin with. You're going to put it on somebody else and say, don't leave me in this pain. But you were in it to begin with. Because the fact that you were in so much pain, he or she was able to come in and weasel their way into your heart and play games with your mind. Jeremiah 17:9 says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. So who could know it? And what gets me about that is desperately wicked. And when people start saying, oh, trust me, trust your heart, go with your heart. Absolutely not, because the heart is what got me in trouble in the first place. Remember, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. I'm stuck on desperately wicked. I think of all the times that I was looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for love in too many races and faces, just like that song, from Johnny Lee. Anybody out there remember that movie Urban Cowboy with John Travolta? Where are my 80s babies at? Because trust and believe, every time my mom had that on and that song came on, I was young. I didn't even understand and know what was happening, but I'm sure that it was downloading in my subconscious mind. Because when I grew up, that's basically what I was doing, looking for love in all the wrong places, too many different faces and races, thinking that I'm, doing something. Toni says, don't leave me in this rain. Again, putting it on somebody else. Everything starts with self. You were already in the rain. You were already in the rain to begin with. You were already a mess. You were already soaking wet. Your socks were probably soggy. Hair and makeup was a mess. And now you're going to sit there and put it on somebody else when you were already in a state of disarray. Now, when somebody sees you in a state like that, when they know you're not 100%, what do you think they're going to do? Especially if they come from a wicked place. Now, Toni continues to say, come back and bring me back my smile. Now, I used to think that my smile needed to come from another individual. Now, today, my smile comes from Yahushai. I don't look to any man, I don't look to any human being to bring me any happy. I bring the happy today. I don't look for anybody to do it for me today. Now, I'm going to take it there again. Exodus 34:14. For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. I learned my lesson. There are some severe consequences in life when you put people, places, and material things before the Most High. Ask me how I know. I've been tested, I've been tried, and as a result, I got a new album coming out. I got a new album. I turned it into a book. And if you stick around here long enough, I might play a little bit of it for you. But it's called After All of This That I've Been Through. No fault to nobody else. Everything starts with self. I did it to self because I decided to put people, places, and materialistic things before the Most High. And remember, God is a jealous God. So now, as I think about this song, Unbreak My Heart, you're putting a lot of burden on somebody else. And listen, and I love Toni Braxton, and I was that young 16-year-old that was sitting here bumping this record too, just like everybody else when it was all over the TV, MTV, VH1. Every time you turn on the radio, it was nonstop. It was crazy. Like I said, they love this record more than they love the first lead single off of the album. But this is a song of desperation. And like I said, even though it was a hit record and everybody loved it, Toni was doing her thing. She was on fire and looking amazing. But knowing what I know today, when I think about this song today, it puts me in a different disposition. Now, for those of you out there that have not arrived, I get it. We all arrive different destinations, different times, places, and all of that stuff. I get it. Play it if you have to. Like I love my favorite artist is Mary J. Blige. But records that will not be in rotation for me, like I'm Going Down. Today, Not Gonna Cry came on, and I was like, absolutely not. Let me turn this off because this is not the state that I'm in. So I want you to all listen very closely as we go through this last part here. Play this record if you have to, but please don't stay stuck on the same type of broken records over and over and over again. Words have power. Lyrics that you listen to have power. The TV that you watch, the people that you're around, the news, the media, your environment all shapes your reality. So choose wisely. Choose wisely, as what you think about today will manifest in your near future. Today, I choose to live, I choose life, and I choose me. So I'm saying, please choose you in a moment and unbreak your own heart. Don't look for another human being to do it for you. Don't put any blame or burden on anybody else because remember, everything starts with self. And back to that old African proverb. And I just have to keep, like I said, we could end it right now. If there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. Most of the time, the stuff that we go through in life is because we don't love ourselves enough to know better. We forgot who we were. Excuse me, we forgot who we are. Because if you're still here breathing, you're still here rocking and rolling. You got the power. You just don't understand and you don't remember. Song of the day. Unbreak My Heart by Toni Braxton. 1996, released off of the Secrets album. All right, we here. We are here. We're up. I have this undescribable sense of energy tonight. I'm ready. We got this wine here, Dulce Vita, which I'm getting ready to get into. But before we begin, I have to take it there because a lot of people have been writing in lately about Wind Down Wednesday for some reason. So I have to be very clear as far as what direction we're going in here at Black Diamond Consultations. So before we begin today's wine sampling, I want to remind everybody that Black Diamond Consultations and Reading Between the Wines encourages responsible drinking at all times. Please be mindful that alcohol affects your spiritual, because remember, they don't call it wine and spirits for no reason. And it'll also affect your mental, physical, and financial well being. Irresponsible habits can lead to harmful consequences in each of these areas of your life. Enjoy the experience, savor the flavors, and know your limits because the best memories are made when we sip responsibly. So I know we got work to do. Thank y'all so much for joining in. I appreciate you. Please do me a favor and share this video with somebody. This is going to be an amazing experience tonight, so you might want to stick around. Thank y'all so much out there on D Live. I appreciate you. I noticed that the D Live family has been waking up a lot. So thank you for that. Dulce Vita. So I went to Hopewell Valerie Wine. I don't know why I keep slipping over these words, and I didn't even have a sip of anything yet. I think I want to call it Hopewell Valley Winery, but it's Hopewell Valley Vineyards. I went there this past weekend as part of the Reading Between the Wines tour, and it was an interesting experience. The first stop was in Columbus, New Jersey, which was Iron Plow Winery, and they had a band inside of the winery, and it was so loud and it was so closed up that I actually went outside to sample the wine because I just couldn't take I just could in order to have the person do a real true wine tasting, it would have been hard to hear, and I didn't want to be screaming and this and that, and just the first experience, day one, was interesting. Day two at Hopewell Valley was even more interesting because they had the band outside now. So I was all excited about getting ready to get outside and sip the wine and listen to the band. They have this amazing oven brick pizza, which I'll definitely have to try it if you're in the area. It pairs so well with the wine. It's amazing. It's thin crust, but the bees started attacking. So I saw them attack this guy next to me. It must have been like 5 bees swarming on his hand. And I said, "Uh-oh, Laren, now you know better than this. You better get up and get out of here." But before I could get up, the bees started to like attack me before my food even came outside. So it was an interesting experience, and I ended up cutting it short because one of the bees flew near my ear, and that was all I needed to know. And it was time for me to get out of there. So, but I did not leave without, of course, sampling the wine. And my favorite wine from them is the White Merlot. They have this amazing White Merlot. You can order it online too by looking up Hopewell Valley Vineyards, and trust and believe they didn't sponsor anything, but it's okay. Maybe in the future. But um, I did end up getting this Dulce Vita, and the reason why, and it's a white wine. I know I'm getting into the reds as the weather changes, but the reason why I picked this wine is because I just want you to listen to this description. Sweet and fruity, Dulce Vita is made from Vidal Blanc grape harvested in late November after leaves have fallen, and the fruit has an acquired raisiny taste, like raisins. That's the main reason why I picked up this wine. Once I read that, I said, "Oh, I got to get this wine." Never thought that I would be sampling a wine that tastes like raisins. So let's get into it. Dulce Vita Sweet Life is a fruity late harvest wine produced with Vidal grapes harvested in late November after the leaves have fallen and the fruit has acquired a distinctive raisiny taste. Dulce Vita is a sweet and fruity wine with hints of raisins, pear, and citrus. Served chilled at 45 degrees. So you have to basically keep this very chilled, which any sweet wine, that's basically the key. If you end up coming across a dessert wine, which is a sweet wine, which most of your dessert wines are sweet wines, and now is the time where you want to get into your dessert wines. Doing it in the summertime probably is not a good idea, but on a nice cold or fall evening when it's a little chilly and you have this wine super chilled, I put it in the freezer. I don't know if that is a proper thing to do. If the wine enthusiasts are going to come after me for putting my wine in a freezer, then so be it. But I definitely do that to make the temperature go down because as the bottle warms up, it will become more and more and more sweeter. So, in order to combat that and have a more enjoyable drinking wine, especially if somebody doesn't like super, super, super sweet, you definitely want to keep it chilled. That's my trick. So Dulce Vita, of course, this is from Hopewell Valerie. I'm gonna stop saying it. I'm gonna just say Hopewell, Hopewell Valley Vineyards from Pennington, New Jersey. This is 80% Vidal Blanc and 20 Traminette. The average price of this bottle of wine is about $17, and the alcohol content is 12.4. Now, when you look at it, it is a white wine, but it has a golden look to it, a rich golden glow, like almost there's hints of yellow. And this is because of the late harvest wine, from late November. And it also gives it like that little yellow tinge to it. So even though it's a white wine, you look at it and say that it's a yellow wine, almost like a Chardonnay. The aromas, it smells amazing. Sweet and fruity scents of ripe pear, raisins, and a touch of citrus. There's also like, maybe like some honey, some slightly dried fruit, and of course, I'm trying to get that raisin aroma, but that's what everyone is raving about, that it smells like raisins. Let's get into the taste. On the palate, it's sweet and indulgent. The raisin character comes through very strong, paired with juicy pear and hints of bright citrus that give it a little lift. And it says that this prevents it from being a little bit too much. I would equivalent that to being too sweet. Rich, smooth texture with sweetness and balanced by acidity. Again, you want to keep this wine chilled. The recommendation is 45. Pairs nicely with desserts. Think of your fruit tarts, which, by the way, I never thought that a fruit tart would be my favorite dessert. I'd say maybe about 2 years ago. Maybe, no, yeah, 2022. I came across fruit tarts. Never had one before in my life. Picked one up and decided to try it and just went bananas over it. But I can't wait to try this wine with a fruit tart. Creme brulee. Anybody who likes creme brulee, this would be a great one as well. Goes well with mild cheeses, especially creamy or buttery ones. You could sip this wine on its own, or of course use it as a dessert replacement. Dulce Vita is a late harvest wine made from Vidal Blanc grapes harvested, and I've said this before, harvested after the leaves have fallen in late November, so the fruit acquires a raisiny taste and color. Again, this is 80% Vidal Blanc, 20% Traminette. Production is quite limited, so they only produce about maybe 75 to 100 cases of this wine. So if you want this wine, you probably should get it soon. Some of the comments. This made a 4-star, 4 out of 5 stars, and some of the comments say a beautifully made dessert wine, rich, flavorful, and with enough acidity and fruit balance to make it feel sophisticated rather than heavy. Another community review mentions of peach and tree fruit with some floral jasmine touches. Users seem to enjoy its sweetness and fruit presence, particularly the pear and raisin aspect. Well, I'm going to taste it right now. I want to say cheers. Thank you so much for joining another episode of Reading Between the Wines, and we're going to see how raisiny this wine really is. It passed the test. I think it's good. Nice and sweet. And it is called, like, your basic white table wine. I honestly don't think that it's super sweet. And the bottle is not, I mean, it's been sitting here for a minute as we've been recording, so it's heating up. And I still don't think that it's super sweet. Yes, the wine is sweet, but I don't think it's over the top where you would become annoyed by it over a period of time, even as the bottle warms up a little bit. However, I cannot say that I taste raisins as much as the reviews say. Now, to be real, I'm not going to say that I'm a raisin fan. I'm like, I know what raisins taste like in and out. I've had them here and there. I used to actually throw them away when I got them for Halloween because who really likes raisins like that as a child? But even as an adult, I just don't think that raisins are like my top thing. But again, still, I don't really taste all of the raisiny in it that the reviews said. Having said that, I still think it's a good wine. I'd still drink it. Would I run back and get it again because it's my favorite thing? I'm not going to say that. I tried it, but it is what it is. But I would give it a 3. I wouldn't give it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's a great wine. But so there you go. Dulce Vita from Hopewell Valley Vineyards. And on that note, it's time to bring in my friend, Mr. Birdman 313. What's going on? How are you?
Hey, all right. How's it going?
It's going good. Welcome on in to another episode.
Oh yeah. All right. Been ready for this one.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It's going to be a good one tonight.
Yeah. Is that SOS that's on here?
I think I saw SOS out there.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying hi to her if it is.
What's going on, SOS? Are you out there? She says she got her glass. All right.
Yes. Nothing wrong with that.
All right. So, all right. Of course, I'm gonna do my weatherman thing. How's it going out there?
Oh, it's nice, man. It's 90, still 90s out here.
Mm.
So yeah, it'd be like this. What's this? Is September? To about the end of October, then we'll see the temperature start dropping.
All right. We've had like 80-ish maybe this week. We got a little rain today, so I'm sure it dipped down a little bit.
Uh huh.
I think tomorrow's going to be in the 70s.
Well, from what they saying, it's gonna be 90s for a good time. So hey, that's nothing I can do about it but sit back and enjoy it.
I know that's right. I'll take the 90s right about now.
Yeah.
Alrighty, here we are. Let's get into the money hacks. Of course, I enjoy this part because you never know what our conversations go on so many different twists and turns with this. So
Yeah.
give me a number. I know we picked one, but we can go up to 275, and I'll be able to
97.
97. I was gonna say I'll be able to tell if we do a repeat, but 97. Let's see. Oh, wow, people will like this. 97. Never prepay for gas. Okay. So if you've ever rented a car, you know it can be a tense conversation at the counter. You want to be a responsible driver, but you also don't want to overpay for what you already excuse me, but you also don't want to overpay for what can already be a pricey convenience. No matter how many options the counter associate throws at you, never prepay for gas. When you do that, you're essentially paying upfront for the rental company to refill the tank when you return the car, and you pay for an entire tank even if you don't drive it enough to get the needle to go down towards the E. There aren't refunds for prepaying either if you only drive it a little bit. On top of that, rental companies often charge higher prices per gallon rates for gasoline that the stations, than the stations located nearby. So even if you choose to pay per gallon for what you need when you return a car, you're likely to be paying several cents more per gallon than you would if you have done the errand yourself on the way back to the rental facility. Next time you rent a car, tell them you'll fill it up yourself. Then take a note of nearby gas stations as you depart the rental facility with your temporary ride. You'll be happy you did that when your trip is over. If you're really nervous about getting credit for your legwork, I have to say that again, excuse me. If you're really nervous about getting credit for your legwork fueling up before you drop off, take a photo of the gas gauge with your phone when you pick up the car and before you fuel up. So, how do you feel about never prepaying for gas? Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, whenever whenever I go back home, I always rent a vehicle, and I never pay. I just say, hey, I prefer to stop and pay it myself.
I got that. I,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, one time I was in Florida and the person told me, "Oh, don't worry about it." I don't know what was happening. Maybe I just heard that in my mind. Don't worry about it. And I just have to say thank you to the 411 podcast and reading between the lines because I pulled up to pull the car up. And before I could say anything, the man says, "I've seen you before." And I didn't want nobody to know who I was because when I'm traveling, I don't like that kind of stuff. It's one thing if I'm out and about or whatever, but I don't like that kind of stuff when I'm in the airports and all that kind of stuff. You got your bags and your luggage and all this stuff. I just want to get where I'm getting to. And I don't want any nonsense. But this person kept saying, "You look very familiar. You look very familiar." And I was playing it off. I said, "Oh, I don't know." He said, "I think I saw you on a podcast somewhere." I said, "Oh, I don't know." I was just playing it off. I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." But he was so friendly that he says, "Oh, and you didn't fill up the gas, did you?" I said, "Well, the lady told me that I didn't have to." He's like, "Do me a favor and back out and go ahead and fill that up because if you don't, you're gonna get charged like double or something like that."
Yes. Yes.
But I would say I would thank the podcast that time for getting me out of that situation because that person was really nice and let me back the car up and go fill it up.
You know what I've also heard when like when they say that, I've also heard them say, um, even if it's $10 less, like if your gas is not all the way, you don't have to worry about it. But I don't. I'm just the type, I don't trust people when it comes like that on the money issue. I always fill it up. The last time I was in Cincinnati, I stopped at the gas station and it was $6. But you know what? I felt good about it because I didn't need no questions.
I know that's
And
right.
well, and then plus I went in the store and I bought me something. I bought, it was something to take, put in my bag to take on the plane. So I spent more than that, but $6 of it went to the gas.
Mm-hmm.
So I like I said, I feel good about that. I'm like, well, at least I know that um it's full. And every
Yeah,
time I
yeah.
come back, the first thing they said, "Oh, is it full?" Yes, it's full. "Oh,
Right,
you didn't
right.
have to do that, Mr. Johnson." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I didn't have to, but I did.
I know that's right. The next conversation we'll have is how do you drive your personal we'll do this on another podcast. I just want to put this out there for y'all. How do you drive your personal car versus a car rental once you get into it? That's a whole
Oh,
nother story. That's a whole
yes,
nother story. You get to where you're going, you're starting to feel good about yourself. You got you a nice little, you know, something or another that you normally wouldn't be driving. What does that do to you? That's a whole other situation.
yes.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, we're getting ready to get into it tonight. So for tonight's assignment here, talked about unbreaking hearts and stuff with Toni Braxton. What you think about Toni Braxton? This is night two of us talking about Toni Braxton.
Hey, I like some of her music. Well, I should say I like her music. I shouldn't say some of it.
Hmm.
I, hey man, it's funny. I used to, man, when she first came out, man, my daughter used to say, "Dad, quit drooling over her. She don't want you."
That's how I was with that You're Making Me High video. I was
Yeah,
like, is that Toni Braxton? I was like, wow.
yeah, and it was some other things during that time though. It was some other things said about her. And so, like,
Mm.
my daughter said, "You don't know, Dad?" I'm like, "No, I don't know." And then I'm like, "Okay, I ain't gonna worry about it." And I said, "Hey," I said, "I can drool. I know she'll never look at me. She's off into, like that's when she was with Jason Kidd and what's that Jackson dude? They was fighting over her." because both of them,
Mm,
she was dating both of them when they was playing with the Dallas Mavericks.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I said, I wouldn't even try to compete with them. I said their bank account a little bit too much for mine.
Good old Tony
So
Braxton.
yeah.
All righty, let's get into tonight's assignment. Dear Laren, I've been married for 6 years. My husband is a good man at heart, but financially irresponsible. When we first got together, he promised me that he'd get serious about money. Now I'm gonna stop right there. And the first thing I have to say is when people show you who they are the first time, believe them, not the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. He already showed you who he was from day one, but I'm gonna leave it at that. When we first got together, he promised me that he'd get serious about money once we got married. But here we are, 2 kids later, and nothing's changed. Exactly, because when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. He spends without thinking, new sneakers, electronics, nights out with the boys, while I'm the one making sure that rent, daycare, and utilities are covered. I've maxed out 2 credit cards just to keep the household together, and my savings are basically gone. I feel like I'm carrying this marriage on my back. Spiritually, I feel guilty even thinking about leaving because I stood in front of God and said, for better or for worse. Mentally, I'm exhausted. Physically, I started having headaches and losing sleep over bills. Financially, I feel like I've never been set. Excuse me. Financially, I feel like I've been set back 10 years because of his choices. I love him, but at what point do you stop being loyal to someone else's potential and start being loyal to your own peace? This is Jasmine from North Carolina. Shout out to anybody from North Carolina. I'm going to take it to the top. Dear Laren, I've been married for 6 years. My husband is a good man at heart, but financially irresponsible. When we first got together, he promised me that he'd get serious about money once we got married, but here we are 2 kids later and nothing has changed. He spends without thinking, new sneakers, electronic, nights out with the boys, while I'm the one making sure that rent, daycare, and utilities are covered. I've maxed out 2 credit cards just to keep the household together, and my savings is basically gone. I feel like I'm carrying this marriage on my back. Spiritually, I feel guilty even thinking about leaving because I stood in front of God and said, for better or for worse. Mentally, I'm exhausted. Physically, I started having headaches and losing sleep over bills. Financially, I feel like I've been set back 10 years because of his choices. I love him, but at what point do you stop being loyal to someone else's potential and start being loyal to your own peace? Birdman, what we got?
Wait. you know, I've read this over and over, and it's a lot of ways I do and I don't fault her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would have to ask her, how long did they date before they got married?
Mm.
And when they was dating, was he doing this? Okay, because my mom used to always say, you can make your mouth say anything just to get what you want.
Wow.
And and I thought about that, and I'm like, hmm. And now you got 2 kids. On one hand, he's selfish because she can't see that he don't care about the kids. Because if he did, she wouldn't have to talk to him about how he spend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you married, you got 2 kids, you've been together for 6 years, and you still doing the same old, same old. I know habits are hard to break, but and I go back to this: he has 2 kids, and do he want? I don't know if he got boys or girls, but would he want his son to act like this towards his kids? And would he want his daughter to be treated like this by another man?
Mm. Wow.
You know, and it seems like, I know she's saying that he buys new sneakers, electronics, nights out with his boys. And it sounds like, oh man, it's some of the words I want to say, but I don't want to say it because I don't want people to think that I think I'm better than him. But it
I,
sounds like he had no education, or nobody taught him about finances, which I know we all have that issue, because I know, but I had that issue with finances. But like my dad always told me, he said, "You take care of home first. Once you take care of home, then whatever you want to do, you going out there and do it with whatever's left. And if you can't, if you can't do all the things because your boys is doing them, they ain't your boys."
mhm.
And that's what puzzling me. I mean, I understand she 6 years, and I mean, hell, 6 years. Hey, he's not gonna change. I'm sorry, he's not gonna change until it's gonna have to be something gonna have to happen for him to really change. And I hate to say it, it's gonna have to be one of his kids gonna have to say something real crazy to him, and then he might not wake up then.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, how long does it have to wait? How old do the kids have to get before they feel bold enough to say, actually, you know what? Sometimes, depending on how you raise a child, they could be disrespectful at 5 years old, so it don't even matter,
Yes.
depending on how they get raised. So you're right about that one.
And like I said, I don't want to say nothing to make it feel like I'm better than. 'Cause I mean, we all made mistakes, but I can say that, and my kids, well, I know my youngest ones, they can. I did the best I could with what I had, but I always made sure, like, whatever bills I was supposed to pay, whether
Hmm.
it was half the rent, half the utilities, food and clothing, that came first. And then whatever I had left, hey, if I want to go out and enjoy myself, I did.
I can say that I vaguely remember any type of financial education or conversations that my father had with me because he was never around. This is the most puzzling piece here.
Uh-huh.
I vaguely remember, but I remember how stingy he was with his money when it came to me anyway, when he was around. So even though he didn't teach me anything when it comes to money like that, I found myself being very reserved, maybe being too frugal when it came to my money with certain people. Now, when it came to me blacking out and spending it on myself, that's one thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I found myself being very frugal to the point where it was unhealthy. And that was a combination from seeing both of my parents how they handle money. My mom was very responsible. Actually, let me take that back. Both of my parents are very responsible because my dad wasn't giving up anything. What? I don't care. I don't care who it was. He wasn't spending nothing like that. And my mom was more focused on taking care of the house, making sure that everything was paid and all of that. So both of them were very, keen when it came to their money. So when it came to me, all I have to say is more is caught than more is taught. No one had to really sit down and tell me, you know. So
Right.
his children probably will pick up the same habits, and the same cycle will continue to repeat itself. And this is what is an equivalent of these generational curses, which I speak about. And his children most likely will do the same exact thing that he does, and it will intensify till about the time where you get to the third generation, they're out of control.
Yeah. It's funny, something that you said. My dad was stingy. I know one time, man, I asked him for $5. My dad looked at me. He said, "Don't you go to work every day?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." I said, "But I said, he said, "I'll give it back to you Friday. I don't have it." And I'm like, "Okay." No problem. And don't go ask your mom for it. I said, I'm not going to, I was just asking you. I went in the house and my mom said, what did he say? And I told her. And she said, oh, but he can loan the weed man 25 and $30 and he can't loan you five. She said, oh, I got some words for. I said, Mom, leave it alone. I said,
Hmm.
he's just teaching me something.
Oh, absolutely.
And so then she said, well, what you need the $5 for? I said, oh, I don't need it. I said, I was just seeing if he had changed any.
Mm.
And because from the time I was 12 years old, man, I had three different paper routes because, you know, and I shovel snow, to have my own.
Hmm.
And they always put that in my head. It's best to have your own. Don't wait for nobody to give you money. And I said, he just trying to teach me something.
You,
This guy here, what he's doing, he's teaching his kids. And I just said, he's selfish because he rather go and get him new tennis shoes and go out, hang out with his buddies, and go buy the. He wants to be the first person to have everything. Oh, the Jordans, new Jordans came out. He's right there. He's the first person. He got to be the first person to have the Jordans, the new iPhones, the new all that stuff. And he ain't even thinking about what he got at the house.
mm.
And them kids are there, and but see, and then she's taking up the slack because I understand she's taking up the slack because she know if she don't, she gonna be put out too in a way. When I say put out, I don't mean put outdoors. Well, yeah, because if nothing gets paid, then hey, the lights gonna get turned off, and in the rent period, you don't pay the rent, you're gonna be out the door. And he don't seem to see that. He don't understand it. And I just think you said something about a cycle.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
He probably seen his dad or his
Exactly.
uncles do that. Or
Exactly.
when he was growing up, he had nothing. They didn't give him anything. And so, like he always said, when I get my own money, I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna spend the way I want to spend it.
Hmm. You
He
know.
shouldn't have never got. He shouldn't have never got married. Cause you know what? She's actually raising three kids, raising the two
Mm.
kids and raising him. She's raising three people.
Wow. That's like K Michelle has a song called "You Can't Raise a Man,"
Yes.
and it's a shame that the mama didn't do so. And there you go.
Yes, and that's why I like these programs because I'm learning a lot, and it's a lot of things that my parents did. I'm seeing that this was beneficial for me.
Yeah, I like that part because, like, I remember when I used to ask because we used to have the ice cream truck come around, and this might seem like so like juvenile, but this always stuck with me as a little kid. The worst thing you can do to a child is tell them that they can't have. Back in the day, it was a dollar. As I
Yes,
as I became like a teenager, it turned into $2. But I remember a dollar. When you tell a child that they can't have a dollar to go buy ice cream and they get to see all of their friends, I don't care.
yes,
I don't care nothing about whether you had the money, you didn't have the money. The child at that moment does not know. But again, of course, kids can't get everything they want. But that moment that I couldn't have it, I would walk around the corner, or I would go in the backyard, I go in the house, go in my room, go somewhere where nobody could see anything, and I would cry, boohoo cry. And I didn't want to sit around my friends because it only took maybe one or two times for me to sit there and watch them eat ice cream. And I'm thinking to myself, you think that I'm going to do this every day at 3 o'clock when this ice cream truck comes around? So guess what? I'm a bounce. And when I get older, I used to have these conversations with myself. When I get older, I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna be able to buy and do what the hell I want to do with my money because I'm gonna make sure I take care of me. So, like you said, when your dad said that you couldn't have whatever money it was at that time that you asked for, the same thing happened to me when I wanted to have my little dollars here or there, go to the corner store. We used to get uh 1 cent, 5 cent candies and stuff like that. When I couldn't partake in all of that like my friends and everybody else did because somebody was feeling themselves a little bit too much and didn't care,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool though. Thank you. I say thank you to both of my parents sometimes because even when they did have it, sometimes they said no. And look at the type of person that I am today when it comes to money. It took me a long time to get here, but I'm here.
Yeah, and that's like I said, I've always been the type. Even when I split up, I always try to get them money to show them that hey, I'm still trying. And like I said, I've always had my own place. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I don't receive eviction notice a couple of times, but you know what? I always had my own place, and I tried to. Don't get me wrong. There was times when I was put in a situation where I couldn't pay it, but you know, I always say, I always took care of home. I always try to take care of home first, and then whatever was left over, that's what I went. And you know what, if I couldn't get it right then and there, I put it in layaway. That way, I know, just keep paying them when they had the layaway plan. I don't even think they have that anymore, layaway plan. But hey, I used to put stuff in layaway, and you know, I just this guy here is a sorry to say it, but he's a poor excuse for a dad.
Mm,
Poor excuse for a man. Period. And I say this because of what she's going through, and she feel like it's her fault in a lot of ways. It's like she said she married this guy, and she said for better or worse. Well, sometimes you know what you just gotta go. She got I mean, she's already taking care of her and the kids as it is.
wow.
So and after 6 years, if he hasn't changed now, he's not gonna ever change.
Yeah, that's a good point. You said she's feeling guilty because she made the vow for better or for worse. Well, you thought that it was better, but then you realized that it wasn't better. It ended up getting worse. So you done did both. You had better and worse. So now what are we gonna do afterwards?
Yeah, and she's saying that he has said that he was gonna change. Well, see, I mean, okay, when you first, but they weren't even married when he said that. That's what the crazy part is. That's why
Exactly.
I'd be wondering, well, how long was y'all dating?
You know what? I say they were dating long enough to know that she knew that this was a problem before she said I do. So here's the thing. If he did it before you got married and he had to promise you that he wasn't going to do it again, you already had the signs before. You already had the red flags, but yet you did it anyway. So I don't
Yes,
think you should feel guilty because you did it anyway. So it's not like, you know, this is my personal opinion. You did it to yourself. So I'm not sure that God's really going to be so upset at you. If anything, he might be congratulating you for getting yourself up out of there. I know that that's probably
exactly.
not the right thing to say. It's probably not.
I mean,
Again,
that's what, and that's like I said, I didn't want to say something to make it sound, I don't know, man,
I know.
wrongly. But to me personally, like I said, she already knew how he was, but she married him anyway. So some of it, that's why I said some of it is on her because she knew how he was. And like I said, after 6 years, at 6 years, oh man, if he, man, come on.
And here's another thing too. I know people might feel a certain way when it comes to marriage and the biblical values and things like that. But I will tell you that I didn't see anywhere in this when it comes to prayer
Uh huh.
over her family and trying to, you know, guide things in the right direction spiritually. I just see that she says she feels guilty.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that from experience, prayer changes things. So either he's going to get right or he's going to get out based on you. Like you won't be able to change him, but you can change yourself. And by getting into some deep prayer and focusing on you and your children, I truly believe that he's going to sense something's not the way it used to be. And either he's going to straighten up and he's going to fall in line or he's going to fall out of line.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what I was saying when I said something has to happen, something has to change, and the reason why I said because I know a lot of times kids will say crazy things to their parents, and you know what the bad part about it is like if he has a son and he carry his son around his buddies, just you know, and his son say something real embarrassing, he's gonna feel real embarrassed.
Mm.
And then his buddies will look at him totally different.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
and then then what can he can't say anything because he has allowed she allowed him to do all these things. And then she's talking about he has a good heart, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to figure out where's the good heart at. I
Maybe
don't
he,
I don't
maybe
see a good heart. All I see is selfishness.
when she says a good heart, I'm probably saying maybe he's a family man. Maybe he's there. He's for the kids. He picks them up. He does stuff. He's there, but he just likes to spend money like crazy. Maybe he does everything right, but just when it comes to his money, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Okay,
And
all
I
right.
and I put that out there for my children, since we're speaking about children. They like to
Uh
make
huh.
they like to one of my daughters likes to make fun of me for saying absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
So I put that out there. I'm saying it again if you're listening. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yes. And you might be right about that, because I guess the thing about it is he's there at the house with him, okay. But and then it's the way he spend his money, but still to me, that's still selfishness on his part. Because it seems like all he's thinking about is himself. Because she said that she has to pay for daycare.
Hmm.
I think that's what she said. I mean, dude, I mean, those is your kids, and you can't help with the daycare.
And then she maxed out 2 credit cards.
Yes, yes, that's what I'm saying. I mean, she paying for the debt, she paying for daycare, she paying for the utility, she's making sure the rent is paid, and she maxed out two credit cards just to keep the household together. Like I said, if she's doing all that, she might as well just be by herself.
Exactly. And she's saying that she feels like she's been set back for 10 years. And this is for anybody out there that's in a relationship, in a marriage, in any type of situation where you're bound, is that the right word, to with someone else. And it's not
Yeah,
easy to break away from them. It's
yeah,
both of your money. I know you might think that, oh, I got my separate bank account. Oh, this one here, that one there. I could go do what I want to do. Oh, I go to work and I do this and I do that. But what you do affects the other person.
yeah,
And you might spend recklessly financially thinking that, "Oh, okay, that's okay, that I'm digging myself in a hole financially. That's fine." But you could be affecting your spouse or your significant other on a mental level.
exactly,
You go
exactly.
you go do something stupid financially, but you're affecting, like in this case, her on a spiritual level because she has one foot out the door. She's ready to go.
Right,
And she's
right.
going back and forth with herself on a spiritual level, not knowing whether it's time to leave you or not. She put that out there for better or for worse. So trust and believe that she's getting ready to leave.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's like I said, like she said, he go hang out with his boys. Okay, and I'm now I'm what's getting me is how much do she believe he's just hanging out with his boys and his boys only?
Oh.
Because
Oh, I
hey,
thought about that. Where's that money going to?
yeah, yeah.
I had
Yeah,
to think about that.
yeah, yeah. When I seen that, I'm like, okay. She said hanging out with his boys. I mean, man, I've heard some crazy things said. Is about, and I've heard females say that. I heard other females say, yeah, he always talking about he hang out with his boys. Well, you know what? He might need to go move in with his boys. He might. That's who he need to stay with. And he need to sleep with his boys because it's getting ready to get locked down here. Hey, man, so that made me think about that, situation too. I'm like, okay, how she know it's really his boys he's hanging out with?
Mm. Yeah, this is a interesting one. Um,
Yes, it is.
I'm gonna say that again, a lot of this happens from when we don't know who we are, and I'm taking it there because he was doing this before from day one, and you signed up for it anyway, and you married him anyway, and
Yep.
two credit cards maxed out. We don't know what the value is, but I think you should get out of this situation. I know that that sounds terrible. I'm not here to give anybody any advice, but if it was for me doing that, I'm not going to go up rack up another credit card. First of all, one is enough, two is too much, and then no.
And then and then she might be thinking about, if I leave him, file for divorce, will he pay child support?
Nothing from nothing means nothing.
Because I mean, because
Oh,
right now it seems like it's nothing.
I heard Diana say that. That's listen, that's a record. What's her name that sings that song? Nothing going on but the rent.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, I
I
think
can't
her
think.
I think her name is Gwen something.
Oh, yeah, I know who you, man.
And
I
then there's and then
remember
there's
that. Yes.
and then there's another one like what Diana said, nothing from nothing. Ain't there isn't there a man that sings that? Nothing from nothing means nothing.
Yeah, Billy Preston.
Yeah, there you go. You
Yeah.
you got to have something if you want to be with me.
Yes.
Yeah, Billy
Yes.
Preston.
Yes. 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 Billy Preston is the one that came out with that, and like I said, a lot of these people ought to listen to some of that old school music because, hey, boy, you'll hear some things you be like, wow, man. Is they peeping in my bedroom window?
this
you know,
this is what I have to say. God says there's nothing new under the sun, which means that
yeah,
history continues to repeat itself. And when I heard Stevie Wonder, I forgot I was going through some weird. I was caught up in a love triangle. I'm sure
uh,
everybody has been in a love triangle in their day and time. But as I'm driving, contemplating, like, Laren, why are you in this mess? And
yeah,
Stevie Wonder Part-Time Lover came on. Now Part-Time Lover had came on so many times as a kid, and I didn't know because I was young. But it wasn't until I was in my 30s that it hit me. And I said, is Stevie Wonder sitting here talking about a part-time lover, knowing that this is what happens? What? When I says Stevie is talking about a part-time lover. All right. So nothing new is under the sun because I'm going through this right now, like what's happening. So
right.
nothing new is under the sun. History repeats itself. And just like this letter here, if homeboy don't get it under control, history will repeat itself, and it often comes through your own children.
Yes, it does. That's and I know, like I said, I can sit back, and my youngest sons, we sit back and we laugh about things. And sometimes I'll say to them, man, I wish I could. And they said, Dad, you did what you could do with what you had, and I'm like, oh, okay, and they appreciate that. And I mean, sometimes I feel like I didn't do enough. And I know one time, man, and I tell people, I was sitting around and I was playing some music at the house. That was before my mom passed away, and she looked at me and she said, "You about to cry?" And I'm like, "I'm almost there, mom." And then she said, "Look." You did the best you could do. And she said, you know what? She said, you gave it your best, and that's all you can do. She said, if you want to cry, I'm going to go back here in my room. I'm going to turn on the TV, and you go ahead and cry.
Yeah.
Just like that. He said, get it out your system. Or go to
Mhm.
your room, and you do it back there. But she said, get it out your system and stop worrying about if you did anything wrong.
Mm. That's some good advice. I know. I know I've been there before. Like what? I
Yeah, yeah.
have been there
Like I
before.
said, man, like you said, so when you said about your dad, I'm like, dang, man, my dad was the same way. But I will say this. One time I was that's when I was living up in Michigan, and I had went back there. I quit my job, moved back there because people was telling me I could get my old job at Oldsmobile back, which I didn't get. And that I'll never forget, that was one of the worst winters I had ever been in. And it got so cold outside that all four of my tires split and my battery split. And
Mm.
I called home, and no, they called me and see how I was doing, and I told them what was up. And my dad said, "Look here, this is what I'm gonna do." He said, I'm gonna send you some money. You go get you some tires. You go get the battery. Go get you a battery, and you and them kids come down here. Leave her back there, just
Mm.
like that, man.
Mm.
I'm like, what? He said, I'm gonna send the money. He said, but he said, if you do not come back down here after you get the money, he said, hey, don't, he said, I can't help you. He said, you in a no win situation.
Hmm.
It's like that. So, hey, he sent me the money. Man, I went and got me a set of tires, got me some new batteries, and I brought my kids back down here.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
And you know, I had to admit that he did help me out then. But like I said, he was like, "Oh, you go to work every day. You need $5. What you need $5 for? You must be going to see some woman." No, Dad, I just asked you for $5. I said, man, you make it sound like all I see is cheap women. And he said, I don't know what you see. He said, but hey, he said, I ain't giving you no $5. I said, okay. And that was the end of him.
Whoa.
I I
Oh my God. Diana over here, when I said that, man, she just,
I will say that the things that our parents put us through, whether it be good, bad, or ugly, or today. So even though I
yes.
explain some of the things that I went through as a child, um, I was just thinking today about my father. That's so funny, so mystical, because I was
Uh-huh.
like,
Yeah.
the relationship that I have with my daughters today, and I tell
Uh-huh.
him this all the time. I say, you did the best you can do. Um, but I also want to say thank you. I'm not here to say
Yeah.
anything bad about it. I'm not here to go back and forth. I've done that as a kid when I didn't know any better, but now that I'm an adult and I know better, only thing that I can say is thank you, because it actually shaped me into being the person that I am here today. So even know that this man here is irresponsible. Couple things gonna happen. A, the children are going to be exactly like him. B, one of them, two of them, whoever is, somebody's gonna say, okay, so this is what you think being a leader is. This is what you think of running a household is. You call this it? This ain't it. I'm gonna do something a little bit different, and that will actually, there will be someone in that household out of that generation that will break the curse. So either,
And you know what?
okay,
Okay, go ahead. I'm
I was gonna
sorry.
say,
Go
so
ahead.
either they're gonna follow in the same footsteps, somebody's gonna break the curse, or one of them might get even worse.
Yeah. And if he has a daughter, the daughter may say, "Oh, this is how a man's supposed to treat a woman. I don't want no man."
Yeah.
That can that can happen too, you know. And when she do, when it's gonna be some guy that talk to her, then she gonna be so hard on him. Man, the dude gonna be like, man, I ain't do nothing but say hello to her.
Because yeah.
And she done went all the way left field on me. I've had that happen too, man, where I just spoke, man, I spoke, and it was like, you don't know me well enough to speak to me. I said, oh, excuse me. I said, I didn't mean nothing, but we stand up here at the bus stop, getting ready to catch the bus, and all I said was, good morning. And that had me, you know what, man? I mean, and that had me from then on. I'm like, you know what? I'm not saying nothing. If a woman don't speak to me, I'm not speaking
All
to her.
you said was good morning. I'm done.
Yeah.
Oh
You
my
know, and
goodness.
this other guy, he said, hey, bro, he said, now you see why don't nobody say nothing to her. He said, man, he said, I don't know what's up with that woman. He said, but he said, man, people done said good morning. Or he said, man, he said, I even one day let her go in front of me and said she didn't say nothing. He said, all I said was, wow. And he said, man, she cussed me out, held up the bus. I said, oh, that was you? He said, yes, that was me. Because I was on that same, you know, we catch it at the
Oh
same
my
spot. We
goodness.
was catching the bus going to work. And I'm like, yeah, man. He said, man, that gal there, she's something else, man. And he said, one of these days I'm gonna follow and see where she live at, just to see if she, you know, he said she sound like she's one of them uppity gals. And I seen him sometime later. He said, man, you remember that lady? I'm like, yeah. He said, man, if you see where she live at, you'll be like, you know, you ought to be glad a man want to speak to you.
He took it to a whole nother level, following her home now.
Yeah. Yeah, he got on the bus. He said he just wanted to see because of the way she always act. And, you know, to any, you know, a man speak to her good morning. And like I said, when I said that, she said, you don't know me well enough to ask, say good morning. I said, excuse me. I stepped back.
Wow. So what would you do if you were in this situation?
Hey, all I can say is, you know, after 6 years, he don't wanna change. She just need to go ahead and take the kids and get her own spot. Cause she's doing that anyway. You know, I
Yeah.
didn't want to use that because I've been saying that. I always say that well, she doing this anyway. So, but you know, on this end, it don't seem like he's gonna change. You know, like I said, 6 years, man. Because I've always told that the honeymoon is over after after you made it past 7 years, then the honeymoon is over, and y'all will be together. And that's what I was always told
Well,
by some older people. She's at
well.
the 6 year and he hasn't changed. But like I said, I wonder how long they dated because you add them 6 years that they was married
Mm-hmm.
plus how long they was dating, and hey, if he ain't changed within that period of time, man, like I said, the dude is not gonna change.
Yeah, exactly. After 6 years plus some, who knows? And I want to challenge that 7 year thing because my girl Mary, she got a song. I just spoke about it today. Not gonna cry. She say 11 years, 11 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it fell apart
Yeah.
at
Well, I know.
11 years.
Yeah, I know the people in in my hometown. They used to say, "Man, once you get past the seventh year, then you got it made." Said, "Man, if you can't make it past then, and if nothing changed, you might well just go here and walk away." And she's saying that she feels bad because spiritually she feels bad. I don't know about that because you know what, like you said, God wouldn't frown on her if she left because, like I said, actually she's raising three people anyway, the two kids and him.
hmm And then now you starting to lose weight. That's
Yeah,
something else. I think it was Tyler Perry and one of his I went to one of his live plays, and it's different when you're in the audience and you can see it on stage. This was years ago.
yeah,
And he said, when you can't find peace in your own home, there's a problem. And he
yeah.
says, I don't care what it is. And this was Medea talking, of course.
Right,
Says that I will beat everything up out of there until I can find my peace again. When you
right.
can't go to your own home and find peace, you're starting to lose weight, lose sleep, this, that. Some women, their hair will fall out, all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
that's just like I told you in Outlaw Posse. Big Daddy Kane, he said to Mario Van Peebles. No, he didn't say to him because he was asleep. He said, man, he said, if you can't find peace in your sleep, he said, you got problems.
Hmm.
And that is true. And she said she had headaches. She's wrecking her own health because this guy here hasn't grown up yet. He hasn't grown up as an adult.
Yeah, Mariah Carey has a song called "It's a Rap." That's what I say. It's a rap.
Yeah. So, personally, I would just tell her, hey, I, you done put in enough time. Your bank account is gone, because that's what she said. Her account is gone. You might well just go ahead and move on, because this guy here, he's not gonna change. Like I said, now I do fault him.
Mm-hmm.
I do fault him on this end, because like I said, when she said he needs all the new stuff, then it's like, okay, man. When I first when I got to that part there, I'm like, oh, this dude is selfish. He's it's all about him, and it's about him, and then everybody else is like fourth, fifth, or sixth.
I actually fault her. I know he is at fault too, especially when the kids are involved. But I fault her from the beginning because her heart wasn't in the right place. She, like I spoke about in the early at the top of the show here, um, if she loved herself, and I know that some of us don't know how to love ourselves because we weren't taught. But when you don't love yourself, you will accept anything. And
Well,
she,
and you know what? I will disagree with you. I agree with you on some of that, but the fact that they got kids, that's the only thing that makes me, like, they got kids, and you know, man, they in daycare, and that's the only reason why I said, okay, she done gave it as long as it's gonna go.
hmm
She just need to go ahead and move on. But yes, she should have been done left. But I also fought her for even having kids.
that's the part I'm saying. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
why I
fought
say.
her for that, knowing that this guy was like this before they got married. Because, like she
Mhm.
said, he said before we got married, he said he was going to be more responsible.
So
He hasn't been.
right. So he obviously did something in the beginning to where he would even have to speak to you like that. So the red flags
Right.
were there. She didn't see him,
Yes.
and there you go. And now, what do the old folks say? You made your bed, now you got to lie in it.
Yeah, she made your bed. Now you got to lay in it.
Well,
Woo,
get
I
it.
heard that so many times.
Well,
Oh, my goodness.
get up, change those sheets, clean that room up,
Yeah.
do whatever you got to do to make that situation better.
Her best thing is to do is just go ahead and file for child support. And then wherever he working at, they'll get their money first. They're gonna get theirs out first.
Right.
So, he don't have to worry about, because he sound like the type of guy that if he had to give it to her, she won't get it. So therefore, by her doing it that way, the court, they're gonna take it directly from your income. And then I'm telling you, man, then he gonna be like, oh, what did I do wrong? And then he might not even see it. He
Yeah.
might not even see that he did anything wrong.
Yeah. Sometimes people don't. Hmm. Well, all right. Any last comments on this here?
Nah, that's all, man.
Yeah, I have to say I agree. So if anybody like to chime in on tonight's, because listen, we just giving our opinion. We're not here to give any advice, but maybe somebody sees it from a different aspect. Please feel free
Yeah.
to let us know. 609 200 1098. You can text, you can email, you can DM. Let us know how you feel about tonight's assignment. And now we are getting ready to roll into burning questions. Burning question: how does stress from financial imbalance show up in the body and how can it be managed? I'll read that again. So, how does stress from financial imbalance show up in the body and how can it be managed? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think I spoke this earlier. Well, you spoke it too. Health wise, it can stress can raise your have you blood pressure,
Fallout.
hair fall out, either gain or no. Most likely is lose weight, lose sleep. You know, just not can't even think right. And a lot of people don't know that, but that can lead to not even thinking right.
Yeah, yeah. I heard something interesting that after the sun goes down, 30 minutes after the sun goes down, your brain starts to recharge. So you have to be in a restful, sleepful state to take advantage of this. And then by 12 midnight, it stops. So if you're not sleeping properly, you're missing the recharging of your brain. So what do you think that's going to do?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
it is. It is. That's very interesting.
And then I believe that Hollywood, if it's Hollywood, it's not really Hollywood. I guess it could be. I'm not going to say the people who made that movie Cinderella, but you know who made the movie Cinderella.
Yeah,
And you know what happens at 12 o'clock?
right.
I think something turns into a pumpkin. They say that that's what happens to your brain when you get no sleep.
Wow.
It turns into like pumpkin mush. Interesting.
Man, when after midnight, it's words dancing out through my mind.
I'm gonna tell you that you bringing that up. Like, how does stress from financial imbalance show up in the body? We're speaking
Yeah.
about sleep. Can I tell you that after I got out of a bad situation, a toxic situation, a disrespectful situation, and more so when I started to get my bills together, and when I realized that I didn't have any more credit card debt, and I realized that I didn't owe this person, I didn't owe that person, some of the best sleep that I've ever had in my life. Can I tell
Yeah.
you? Best
Yeah.
sleep that I've ever had in my life. And I'm like, wow, this is what it means to be able to lay your head down at night knowing that you don't owe anybody anything.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. And like I said, when you know your bills are paid, and I don't care if you don't have no more than $10 left over. And sometimes that's a situation I saw myself in where all my bills were paid. I had food in the refrigerator, and I had $10 left over.
And
I
you,
felt good.
right, I was going to say, you know what I would do in that situation? Be doing backflips.
Yeah,
And that's the problem with imbalance with when it came to my past life is because not equally yoked with somebody. There was a financial imbalance. Either I'm on point and the other one's not. And then now we
yeah,
got to go to back and forth and have this. And remember, what one person does can affect the other.
oh yeah,
That's an imbalance right there. Like the scales aren't done properly. This one's paying too much. This one's not paying enough. So
yeah. And I mean, like I said, for me, it was hard for me to write anything constructive. You know, like I said, when I wrote, it was always real crazy stuff. You know,
I, I know.
because I had one editor. She said, "Oh, you must be on drugs." I'm like, "What you mean by that?" And she said, and then I told, because I said I just got out the hospital, and she was like, "Oh," she said, "I knew it was something." She said, "You must be on drugs." She said, "Because normally your writing is, kind of calm." She said, "This here was just all erratically," and I'm like, "Yeah." And then I said, "I'm going through some changes right now," um, which I did. I went through it. I went through the changes longer than what I should have, but I kept trying. And that's why this can relate. I can relate to her because I tried, and then finally I just got up and walked out and said, "I'm done."
Hmm. Yeah. There's power in saying that I'm done. You get your power back.
Yes. And and then and even and my parents, they had nothing to do with it. Well, they had nothing to do with it. Only thing that was said, my dad said, if you go back over there to her, you're gonna have to give up the keys to the house, because you ain't gonna be able to come over here until we here.
Hmm.
And that was all he said. He said, "I ain't got nothing else to say," and I'm like, "Man," I said, "I'm done with this." He said, "Well, you ought to be." He said, "Man, you realize how many times it's been back and forth?"
Mm. Trust and believe. I know. I know. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And my mom, she like, I normally don't agree with him, but I'm like, "Yeah, I know it. I know it. Yo, go get you some sleep. You got to go to work." And I had to be up with it. I had to get up like 4 hours later. So I just went and got me some sleep, man. I went to work. Then I went to the hospital and got stitches. And I went
Mm.
from where they told me, they said, "Hey, just go get the stitches, then come back." And that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. What I
You know,
said.
and see, that's why when she said what she said 6 years. I'm like, yeah. I said, well, mine was like 7.5 or 7, and I kind of know because it was kids involved. And sometimes you just have one of y'all have to say, "I love y'all, but I gotta go on about my own business and get my own self together, and then I can get with y'all."
I agree. I love you, but I love me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And
Uh,
a, and I'm like this, like I said, a sick person can't help nobody,
exactly.
you know. And so and that's why I see she's on the edge, and she said, I know, yeah, for better or for worse. Well, I mean, how much worse can it get?
That's what I was gonna say. You already done both of them, so now what's next?
Yeah. Yeah,
It was what you thought was better ended up turning out to be worse. So now that you experienced both, now what's the next step?
exactly. Because it don't seem, like I said, 6 years, it don't seem like it's getting no better, and it's not.
When people show you the order, you better believe them the first time. She should have believed him before she said I do.
Yes. And before she got kids,
Hmm.
she shouldn't. And that's the only thing I fought her on, is having kids with this guy he's not responsible. That's the only thing I really fought her for, is having them kids, because now she feels strapped down. She feels like, "Oh, I don't want them to see me leave their dad." But hell, your dad already done left y'all.
Oh, just like that song by I forgot. Is it the OJ's? Yeah, where he basically is like, your mind is here with me,
Yeah,
your body's here with me, but your mind is somewhere
yeah,
over town messing around.
yeah.
He's going already. He might be there physically, but mentally he's going already. He's
Oh
in
yeah,
he's into the sneakers, the clothes, hanging out, doing this, doing that.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm. All right. I think that's a wrap for tonight.
Oh yeah.
What do you have going on for us this week? What's going on in your world?
Oh, later on tonight, probably be LA Poetry Society. Um, I think I'm gonna go ahead and go to Austin this weekend. A good friend of mine's, of ours, I should say, is getting an award for his contribution in poetry up there. And
Okay.
then I'm gonna do. I'll probably do kick butt later on that night, and then Monday I'll do Fredo's. So those are if I go up there, those are the two readings I'll be at reading, and of course, I have videos and I post them on my Instagram page, and whoever want to see the videos and hear my poems, what I do up there, hey, they can go to my Instagram page,
And what and
and I can.
what's your Instagram page?
That's what I was getting ready to say. My Instagram, my Instagram is Birdman31355. You also can go to Amazon.com where I have 10 poetry books there, and at Amazon.com/author/Birdman313. You can go to Spotify and click on Coffee, Wine, and Words. And you have to scroll through, and I have 11 videos on there. Also on YouTube. That's where mostly all my videos are put at. Is youtube.com/author poet Birdman 31355.
All right, that's what's up. Looking
Yes.
looking forward to our live session.
Oh yeah.
This oh, actually, it's next month. It's the beginning of next month. The first October 1st.
Right. Right.
Looking forward to that. I'm
Yeah,
actually
I'm looking through some stuff to read. I'm 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 looking for a few poems that's maybe one that's nature,
hmm
and but then others, the other one is probably be it's gonna be directed towards life, some kind of way, either homelessness or living on the streets, something like
Okay.
that. Because I'm working on one now, and reason why I started working on that one when we was up there a couple weeks ago, something happened, and I decided to write about a little bit, and I put that into the poem. It's about homelessness, and how people. It's out there. It's for real,
hmm
and it just. I don't really talk too much about it because I can't really help them out. All I can do is say a prayer for them,
hmm
and I wish that I had the resources. I would put them in a home, but you know what? One thing I found out: most group homes like that, you got to be very careful of the neighborhood you put them in, because I know down here they have these neighborhoods, and some neighborhoods don't want you know those
Exactly.
type of in the neighborhood, because they said it takes the home value down.
Exactly.
And I just wish that there was a place, and that I could just the resources to have, so they could go there and get them off the streets. But then a lot of them, they don't want to come off the streets, because they'll tell you, hey, I don't have to listen to nobody. I can come and go when I get ready. I don't have to listen to any rules, because they've been doing it for so long.
Mm. Yeah, that's their way of life, right?
Yeah. And I've been reading I, I've been reading some poems that I've been thinking about. I'm like, maybe I read this one, maybe I read that one. and and then by the time we get to the reading, I be done changed everything.
Hmm.
I do that, I'll pick out something to read at an open mic, man, and then when they say, "Oh, I'm coming up next," I done changed it, man. I done changed the poems. That's just me, man. I do that.
All right. Well, I will be. What do they say? In anticipation, waiting for it.
Oh yeah, I need to. Matter of fact, I did something. I did something on the beach last week. I know I uploaded, downloaded one. I think I did put it on Instagram. Yeah, and I got another one that I'm gonna go ahead and I might post it either tonight, tomorrow, or Friday, but I will post it
And what was the handle name again?
on Instagram. Instagram.com/Birdman31355.
Birdman 31355.
Yeah, or it might be, sometimes I don't know, man. Sometimes it get on there and it's like author Birdman31355, or it's just Birdman31355. But anyway, you pull it up. If you come to my page, you'll know it.
I'm gonna find out right now before we get out of here, cause I'll let you know.
You already on my Instagram page.
I know I'm gonna let you know exactly what it is. It's Birdman three
Oh,
one three five five.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, okay. I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay,
Yeah, just so that we got the right one.
yeah, okay.
All right. Well, of course, it's always fun here,
Oh yeah.
and I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Absolutely. It's these have been some amazing shows, and of course, we're going to keep the momentum. Y'all stay tuned for October 1st. Now, the time is going to be 8 p.m., so
Yeah.
don't show up early. It'll be 8.
Now, yeah, it'd be 7 o'clock our time. Yeah, yeah,
7
yeah.
o'clock your
I got
time.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to get out of here, and I don't want to turn into a pumpkin, so I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah. Hey, drink some good wine this weekend.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, I'm going to the Wine Fest this Sunday, this weekend. So, yeah. It's going to be some fun. I'll have lots of stories to tell you from next week of all of the wineries that I sample. It's at a huge winery, and
Uh,
they bring in probably anywhere between, I might be exaggerating, I would say anywhere between 30 plus wineries.
wow. Uh,
It's a lot out there. I'm going to count them. I'm going to count them. I'm going to get all of the contact information, and I'm going to purchase some wine for next week's show. And it's a lot. By the time you, even if you did the right thing by going from each station, by the time you get done, you will feel very interesting towards the end. That's just going
yeah.
slow. That's not asking for a second sample of the favorite one that you have. That's not you buying that's just from you going from one station to the other. By the time you get to the end, it's a lot of wineries out there.
I've only been to three wine tastings. One was at a job I worked at. I worked at a group home for youth, and they had a wine tasting there for the employees. That was my very first wine tasting. And then we was out in California visiting Diana's daughter, and she took us down on Santa Monica Beach. And
Mm.
then there was a place over there. We went to. She said, asked us about did how would we like to go there, and I'm like, yeah. And we went there, and I tasted some wines. I didn't get two, because I know if one tastes good, I might like keep drinking it, but
I
you know, but you know,
Yeah,
but yeah, but we found it. It was a nice little place, man, and it was no huge spot, but they had quite a bit of different wines there.
and that was
And
actually on a boardwalk.
No, it wasn't on the boardwalk. It was
Oh,
like
okay, okay.
you had to go. It was right across the street from Santa Monica Beach, and you had to walk down a little ways. When I say a little ways, I don't even know if it was a half a block, but you had to walk like a half a block across from the beach, and they had a place right there.
Yeah, I wish I had known that because I was there a couple years ago
Uh huh.
and I didn't see anything like that. Although, of course, I wasn't looking for it, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And then I think we went to another one that was out there, but it was I can't remember. I know we did. It was a different spot we went to, and it was a wine tasting. I think the other one was, and I could be wrong, over off of Sunset Boulevard. I could be wrong.
Hmm. All right. Well, I got some places to go back. I'm gonna look for that one if I'm ever in Santa Monica again. Although
Yeah,
I wasn't impressed with that beach for some reason, but it was all right. It was all right.
I, yeah. Well, I mean, like me personally, it was just the videos. Me
Yeah.
taking pictures and getting some good videos because I think I have a few videos of Santa Monica Beach, and um, which went well some of my poems. Like the only one I can right now straight off hand is I got a poem called Santa Monica Beach. I do have a video of that. And the other one is 1,000 miles from nowhere. Those two right there. 1,000 miles of nowhere is actually on Spotify.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got that one there, and I mean, her ex son-in-law, he was in the bodybuilding, and I shot a workout video that he did out there on Muscle Beach. I think that was Santa Monica we was on. It was one of the beaches we was on. And it had a section. You had all these bodybuilders out there, and he was her. Like I said, it's her ex son-in-law, and he was out there working out, and I shot a video for him out there.
Hmm. I know I ate at one of those restaurants down there. I think it was a Mexican restaurant all the way towards the end.
I tell you what, that fish house that's right there by the pier. Oh man, we went off in there. Ooh, man, that food was so good. And
I
we
don't even
uh
know what the restaurant. I think it was Mexican food.
uh-huh. But I know we always said if we went back out there, that's the restaurant we would go to again. Because it's right there. The pier is right there, and it's on the left hand side. You can't miss it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. I shall return there one day.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what, man? I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm hoping to get off. I just got an email today about something that's going on in San Diego in February. It's called Black Authors, and they
Hmm.
contacted me on Instagram, and then they sent me a personal email. And so, like, I just gotta see, man. February is a long ways from here, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man, every time we want to go somewhere, we catch a plane acting a fool, and we be like, "That's all right. That's all right." We go. We'll wait. So
Oh yeah. I'm gonna just stay prayed up. That's all I can do.
yeah, and I'm not about to drive out there because hey, man, the parking out there is crazy. It's like $50 to park out there at some places, and that's the cheapest.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and,
Crazy.
and then the gas is outrageous. So, I just fly out there and catch me a Uber or Lyft, and hey, I'm happy.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Ubers and Lyfts on vacation the next show
Yeah.
because I'll have to share something with you on that.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, It's been a real one,
Yep.
and I will see you next week, same place, same time.
Got you.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Have a good evening and a weekend.
All right. You too. Take care now.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That was author Birdman 313. I want to say thank you all so much for joining. If you heard something tonight that sparks your interest, especially when it comes to the debt-free living, you may certainly head on over to LarenGaines.com and you can sign up for my free 15-minute consultation. I offer coaching sessions on debt-free living from the realms of spiritual, mental, physical, and financial. I believe that the first is taking care of your spiritual, get a little bit of understanding. You don't know what your purpose is. Through that, stepping into the mental aspect, understanding the thought process that you had about money prior to stepping into the coaching sessions and knowing the difference, from what you were programmed with, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, what you like to change. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we can change. We can reprogram ourselves to think differently about specific situations. And tonight, we're, of course, speaking about money. So you can reprogram yourself regardless of what you have been programmed with, whether it been your parents, whether it been the school systems, whether it been, relationships, whatever you've been in that you don't like about your financial aspects from a mental standpoint, you can change it. It's possible. Ask me how I know, because I've done it. And once you start to think about money differently, you will start to show up in the physical, the way you conduct yourself as a human being, the way you spend money, the way you interact with money, the way you maneuver will show up completely different. And that's the physical. And then, of course, once you have all of those three layered on, you will start to build some financial wealth. It's possible. Head on over to LarenGaines.com. You can sign up for my free 15-minute consultation. You can apply to see if you qualify, because this program is not for everybody. This is not for people who are still swiping credit cards uncontrollably. This is not for the people who rob Peter to pay Paul and are okay with it. There are some people that rob Peter to pay Paul and they're just absolutely okay with it. There are some people who have got to have a brand new car every other year. As soon as they pay off the one car, they go run out and they go get another brand new car with car payments, because they just feel so much better and they're so used to having a car payment that sometimes when they don't have a car payment, they don't know what to do. There are some people that have shopping habits and they just can't stop shopping on Amazon. They can't stop shopping on, the different online stores their favorite online stores. I'm not going to name them. I already named Amazon and I won't do that again. I just want to say that this is not for everyone. You have to be willing to take the steps. I can't do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. And you have to be willing to say enough is enough. Some of us figure this out when they hit rock bottom. I hope that you don't have to hit rock bottom in order to figure it out. But unfortunately, sometimes that's the only thing that helps us get through to the other side. You may also sign up for my free monthly newsletter, which is Whispers of Wisdom, delivering inspirational content to your inbox once a month, centered around debt-free living from the spiritual, mental, physical, and financial realms. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so much for joining in. Please stay tuned as I will continue to post updates on the live version of this podcast where we will have lights, cameras, action, and you will be able to see myself and my guests starting on September 28th. Let me make sure I got my dates right. I believe that it's September 28th. Bear with me. I should have this information. Shame on me for not having that. But yes, it's September 28th through October 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on laryngains.com. At Laryngains on DLive, Facebook, Instagram, Daily Motion, TikTok, Twitch, X, and YouTube. Remember, at Laryngains. Check out the different social media platforms as I will be posting different information on different platforms. And on that note, I want to say thank you so much. I will see you next time, same place, same time, right here at laryngains.com. Take care, y'all. Have a good night.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the 411 podcast and Reading Between the Wines, where growth is always on the menu, and every pour reveals a little more truth. The conversation doesn't end here. Have something to say? Want to weigh in on tonight's burning questions? Text us anytime at the official 411 podcast and Reading Between the Wines hotline at 609-200-1098. Stay plugged in across all social media platforms at Laryngains. We're live and in the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, DLive, Twitch, and Daily Motion. Prefer to listen on the go? The audio version is streaming on most major podcast outlets. Until we meet again, take what you've learned, sip slow, speak truth, and remember, transformation starts within. Powered by the Black Diamond Consultations Network.